Hello, welcome to Lore Master's Lair. I'm your Lore Master, here today for my end of year Errata video, as per usual. This year we had a few interesting entries into the Pathfinder mythos. First we had the Tianchi books, which at this time I've only covered 3 countries, more on the way, but so far only 3 countries, so don't really have any erratas to cover there. We did have 4 adventure paths, even if one of them was all in one book. And the big stars were, of course, that we had the War of the Immortals. It's been long. The War of the Immortals and Divine Mystery books, which it is Divine Mystery, which I am taking a lot of the erratas from, there being a lot of new interesting information about deities, and one of my things is monthly deity videos, so without further ado, let's get started. First, by looking at Abadar. Now, Abadar has always been one of my least favorite of main 20 because he's kind of been boring. His past as a colonizer, present as a banking executive, and future as a corporate executive have left nothing really to be desired on my end, but here we actually gave him some depth by giving us a tale of his brother, Luld, who was the original greedy capitalist person that Abadar would eventually adopt in his memory, but Luld stole several items from the first vault, some of which are still not recovered, some which include listed out the perfect spell, the perfect death, and the perfect plague. Very interesting items to have for someone's own game, but either way, Luld was eventually executed, for lack of a better term, by Abadar through the method of making people forget he existed, which is an interesting read and interesting thought of how gods operate. Now, one more thing that has to do with Abadar, but also has to do a lot with Asmodeus, is a holiday called the Day of Black Crescent. It talks about how, despite Asmodeus usually being the one who gets out better in the end in most deals, there was a few mistakes in his past, and one of them has Abadar get a promise out of him to, for every 3,000 change years, to have all current contracts renegotiated. Of course, devils are intelligent, so they probably don't lose much from these holidays, but still, it's an interesting thing to note. One of the biggest things that didn't come from Divine Mysteries was Norgabur. He had a little side quest where we learned more about his past, which most of it I'm going to leave for people who actually play the adventure paths. But one of the things that I will talk about is that he had a 5th persona. I also mentioned that all his personas were based off people in his life. Well, the 5th was more closer to himself and what he did in his past, but either way, the 5th was known as the Prince of Propaganda, and the adventure path dealt with him trying to make this a 5th aspect of himself, while also making all 5 aspects of himself into a full deity so that he could be his own pantheon. But either way, back when Norgabur lived in the city of Vir, he was responsible for an uprising that led to the founding of the way Vir's government currently is, before he started traveling the world. And while he interacted across the world with the other 4 personas, the original one, the one that causes war, is responsible for propaganda, for convincing people to rise up, was left to rot in beer. And Adventure Paths can end several ways. So, while canonically his attempts failed, there's still a possibility that the Prince of Propaganda might pop up in some other games. Now, a couple of smaller things before I end off with the big thing. We have a new giant deity, um, Yimidor, who is a second ice giant deity, this one being a deity of whalebears as well. So, and also lycanthropes, I would assume, but it was specifically he is a whalebear, so. Also, we got more information on Hotspur. Now, in the past, we've had the information about him potentially being a king that formerly ruled over the River Kingdoms, and we had him basically fully connected to the River Kingdoms. But here we get him being more active, him going across rivers to protect people who travel along them. And this includes the River Styx, which had a bit of talk of that in the past, but not him actively hunting down demons across it. So that's something that I thought was of note. But the big change was with the Orc Pantheon. Now, I did cover the Orc Pantheon in my Orcs video, so they qualify for the Errata. But we get more expanded information. First, we had information on the Crucible in the past, but it wasn't that fleshed out. Now we actually have seen it. But the way the Orc deities work is that they kind of all worshipped, but the main thing that the Orcs do is their goal to be overcome. Those who, when they die, want to try to take on deityhood, they can make the challenge of the Crucible as they are dying, or right before they die, before they go into battle. Lots of people who want to challenge the gods make the challenge before battle just in case they die. But anyway, so if they die, then they have the right to challenge a former Orc deity, someone who is currently an Orc deity. And they are also able to bring in support, but that also means that the deity also gets the same number of support. And if they win, they become deities, and the losers of the battles don't go down the River of Souls. Their soul essence is gone. So making the challenge, whether win or lose, is to guarantee you have no afterlife. But the biggest thing is that we've had a big turnover in Orcish deities, the biggest turnover in centuries and millennia. So, first of all is Dretha, the Orcish mother deity, which we learned in a recent information about the Pantheon that old legends say that she is the mother of 5 of the other Orc deities, but I won't get into that there. But the point is that she was killed by some unknown challenger. Now, the way the Orcish deities work means that not every Orcish deity in existence comes out, announces themselves, and are worshipped. So the person who took Dretha's place is currently unknown. But then we have the big 3 change, where there was 3 successes in the Crucible that are of note. First is Lanistra, the one of the slaver, Lystra was a slaver, was beaten by the former ruler of Belkzen, Ulrich, who now has taken the spot and is now a deity of social. I'm thinking term. But anyway, social ladders to make it so that hierarchy. That's the word I was looking for. Strict hierarchy. He's a deity of strict hierarchy. There are people below, and there are people above, and the below serve the above. Then the orcish deity of fire, Celerian, was defeated by a worshipper of Sanre, Marsha Firehair, herself a fire deity, fire layer deity. But her thing is to take Sanre's teachings, but add in that people need to actually work to forgiveness. It's not just something that's given out, it's something that's earned. A orcish spin to the traditional faith. Then the orcish deity of death, Zogresh, was killed by Grask Undeath, which we'll deal with him in a moment because of something that happened with his crucible, but he is a deity who believes in protecting the community, of defenses, of helping those who are below, as opposed to traditional orcish values. Don't know why that was so hard to say. I should have drank water before this. Anyway. And one more big loss was Verix, who was the god of greed, but ended up, shall we say, digging too deep, and was corrupted by Rovagug to become the newest child, aka the new Tarrasque, since the Tarrasque can't be used anymore. So he's kicked out of Pantheon and is now a mindless monster. But we also have two new additions. One of them likely taking the spot left by Verix, but someone had to have killed some orcish deity, but we don't know. The one that was most likely took the spot because we don't have any information of her actually beating anyone was Joka, who fought alone, but after her death by the Whispering Tyrant, became determined of people fighting together and has become a deity of hunting in packs, of game hunting, since it's a group activity. The other, Wolgren, was one who was determined to make his way by developing better weapons, developing guns. And while he did die, he did impressively with his main gun against a horde of the Whispering Tyrant zombies. So he went to the Crucible. He was likely the one who fought against a god we don't know and emerged victorious. So now he's a second orcish deity of technology, but, well, I didn't write down his name, so he's not on my list of names over there. But while the former one was, and who is still here, is one who works with siege technology and stuff like that, Wolgren is 100% guns, but also about making your own weapon and using it. But stepping backwards a few orc entries, one of the biggest things that happened that is changing the society of Pathfinder as we know it is that Turog, the leader of the Dwarven Pantheon, is making peace with orcs. The historical is the proper word, enemy of dwarfs. He and Grask Oldeth worked together because of their shared ideas of protecting community. And when Grask did his crucible, he used the rules of having allies to have Toreg fight along beside him. So, and then the moment that they won, Torog announced, I keep going back and forth between Torog and Toreg. Torog made a public announcement about how he had fought alongside Grask and how he was determined to make peace between his people and the orcs. Which, of course, not everyone's happy about, but Toreg says to those who still don't like orcs that if they prefer to leave him to worship another one of the dwarven deities, he is fine and at peace with that. But it has paid off so far. The Ulrich, the former leader of Belkzen, who's now a god, once he rose, he tried to assassinate Toreg, only to be saved by Grask. So the changing alliances are working out so far. But either way, that is all the big changes that I saw, as well as minor changes that I saw combing through everything. I probably missed something, considering how much information was in our new deity books, but either way, that is all the information I have of and wanted to talk about. So we bid adieu to 2024, and I look forward to going through plenty of more videos for 2025. Plans are, of course, to finish up what is now the old other deities. We had a list of 20 before, now we have a list of 40, which I'm not going into the newer of the 40 yet, but still have some to wrap up from, well, 1E of those god books. As well as I'm going to get into Titanshi books. Well, to get into the Titanshi countries. I'm not reviewing the books, but you know what I meant. And I'm also going to continue with Planets and Pathfinder and hopefully finish up the countries of the Inner Sea region. I only have like 3 of them left, though they're all ones without that much information. So, but either way, these are usually short videos, and I'm longer than some of my god videos recently. So, thank you everyone who came and stopped by, and I'll see you next time.